Hello everybody and welcome to Model Kit Stuff and the first episode in my build of this JU52. Just a quick reminder in case you maybe didn't see the first introduction video on this. I'm going to be building this in its 1936 Olympics livery. So what I wanted to talk about today was seats and floor pans. Step one in the instructions is basically putting the cockpit together. There's not much to it. There's no decal for the dials. It's very, very simple. The boards at the back that go behind the seats, the bulkheads are totally featureless. So it's a little bereft of detail, but most of it will be difficult to see in the finished model, except for the seats, and I'll come back to that. And then if we look at step two, doing the civilian version, we have a dozen of these seats that we need to assemble, and then they get put into these location points in this floor plan. And that's what I wanted to talk to you about, really. So the kit actually comes with two different floor pan parts. This is the civilian one and this is the military one, and if you can see that, I don't know if you can see that in the light, there is some very faint raised lines there for positioning of various different fittings. Now I've made up one of the seats just to test it. So the little seats made up of three parts. The two side bits with the armrests are separate parts, and then what you're supposed to do is just glue that into place like that, nice and simple. The problem with it is the fit is very sloppy. There's a lot of play in there, which means there's a big gap also around the seat, which doesn't look right. So you've then got two options. You've either got to fill that, or what I'm going to do is use the military one and get rid of that altogether. So goodbye to that one. What we need to do is clearly make sure that we put these in the correct places. So we'll use the civilian one to take some measurements, and we'll mark that out and possibly drill some locating holes or something like that. I'm also of a mind to maybe modify the seats slightly. So you can see here they have a bar at the bottom, which even if they did have a bar at the bottom, and I can't find any particular picture evidence, there's so many different interior variants, I can't find a particular reference that shows that this bar would be there. So it looks wrong to me, so I think I might be cutting these off and removing them in their entirety. So, which would be better and easier than thinning them down. It also means we've got less contact points on our floor pan, but we have to be more accurate with how we mark that up. I have also just test fitted this inside the fuselage, because there's quite a bit of work that we're creating for ourselves there, and you have to ask yourself the question, is it worth it? Well, the answer is yes, because that's a very big door. There's another door on this side. The windows are a fairly decent size, so you will be able to look in and see in, and if you use this, you're going to see all these little grooves. So it just, for my mind, it makes sense to spend a bit of time sanding that smooth. There's fewer ejector marks to fill anyway, so that seems like a quicker process. Marking this out with a pencil thereafter isn't a biggie. Whilst we're on sanding that down, I'm also going to remove these two location ridges here, which are designed for the pilot seats, and I'll show you the pilot seats. there's the pilot seats. It's totally featureless. It's pretty awful, really, and the fit is, well, I'm not even sure how that's going to work. So they're dreadful, and I'm glad to say you can get replacement seats from Quick Boost. So there you go, 2 little resin seats. They come in a pack with the pair of them. That one's the pilot, that one is the co-pilot, navigator, whatever. I've seen these in actual photographs, so I know these are very, very close to the originals. So I'm going to fit these. Now this one here is going to have to get bolted to the bulkhead. So by removing these, that's just going to be a little bit more authentic. This one has a track that it sits on, so again, that would be in the way anyway. So we're going to do some work on cleaning that up and getting that ready. There's a bit of a curvature to this, but I think it'll straighten off when we put it in. So that's pretty much where we're up to, other than these bulkheads. So the bulkheads, if I can show you. Right, yeah, so these are the bulkheads here. And you can see they're just a totally smooth rectangle of plastic. But actually, they should have this rib texture that the aircraft has. So there are a couple of parts that you cut out from the side of the aircraft. This here particularly, there's a door that we're going to cut out to have a separate open door put in. So and I need to think about that. But what we can do is use the ridges from this piece that we cut out as a saw guide to maybe, this is my plan at the moment, use that as a saw guide to put the grooves into this piece, so that we've got something that looks a little bit more authentic. When you put this onto the back wall of one of them, it'll take up a fair amount of the space, but right at the top, the bit that you'll see will be blank. So it's just adding a little bit of detail without spending a lot of money on it. And actually, it's quite difficult to get aftermarket parts for this. I think Edward used to do some etch, but they've now discontinued that, and I couldn't find any looking around on eBay. But in the main, those are the only real criticisms of these first 2 steps. It's a little bit lacking in detail, and there's a bit of work to make that look half decent. There is also a door to fit, which again has absolutely no detail on one side, has some detail on the other side and some injection marks to fill. So there's quite a bit of work. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to sort out the floor, do some marking up, and then I'll come back and show you how I've done that. And I'm probably going to build up these 12 seats. They do need a little bit of a clean up, so you need to get in with either a knife blade, or I use I have these little seam scrapers. They come in various different shapes and sizes. They're not overly cheap, but you can pick them up at model shows and the like, and they're all different shapes to get into different little holes, and quite often are easier to get in to small apertures if you want to clean up some of those seams. So there's quite a bit of clean up work to do, a bit of sanding to do, and a bit of prep. So what I'll do is I'll crack on with that, and I'll come back to you when that's done and show you what that looks like. Okay, bye for now.